good evening, everybody, and you're very welcome to this evening's Let's Talk Equine webinar. If you are joining us for the first time this evening, my name is Wendy Conlon and I'm an equine specialist with Teagasc. And I'm joined this evening by Kate Jarvey of Monymusk Stud and Attington Sport Horses, and Austin O'Connor, who is based over in England with Attington Sport Horses. Austin, you can start your video and you can come off your mute there. So thank you to both of you very, very much for joining me this evening and joining our viewers, and a big welcome to you. So Kate, first of all, I suppose, you know, to mention you're a native of America, but you're based in Monymusk Stud in Duhallow country, and you're an avid hunts lady. You're a joint master with the Duhallow Hunt, I understand, and you also have entered yourself in the past. You ride avidly, and were only telling me you were out riding today. So I suppose, you know, the fact that you have been breeding now for quite a while at this stage, you've put I would imagine, speaking to you, I would say you've put a lot of thought and consideration and, of course, you know, investment of resources into your breeding program. And of course, you know, the subsequent raising of the young stock and production of them with Austin, who's with us here this evening, and also with Shan. And we will talk a little bit more over the next hour over the horses that you have, the broodmares that you have, the young horses that you've produced, and, you know, some of the horses that you have both with Austin and with Shan. So I welcome you this evening, and I thank you very much for giving up your time to be here.
Okay.
And pardon?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Just to introduce Austin as well to our viewers this evening, a Cork man, you know, you made some space for Kate down there, and you moved across the waters over to England, and you're based in Oxfordshire. You know, I think it's a credit that you've represented Ireland for the length of time that you have at this stage. And, you know, even to say that back in 1995 you were part of the gold-winning young rider team at that stage, and since, I mean, you've represented Ireland, it's countless the number of times that you have represented the senior eventing team. You've been part of the team at the Olympics in Sydney in 2000 and Beijing in 2008. You've ridden at some of the biggest tracks around the world, Badminton, Burley, Bucklow, Stresgum, Powell, Lexington, Kentucky, and so many more. And I suppose, you know, within that, the fact that you have produced horses for all levels of the sport, and you have, I suppose, you know, like there's some highlight horses that we will talk in regard to some of them, but Ringwood, Mississippi, and Balham Houdini and Kilpatrick Knight that have produced 5-star results for you over the years. And to say that, you know, at the moment you're in the mix with Colorado Blue, who of course has been bred by Kate, with the potential in the long listing that you were there for the run up into Tokyo for this year. So, you know, we're delighted to have you with us this evening, bringing all of those experiences with all of those horses and all of those competitive runs to bear to the conversation this evening. So also a big thank you to you for being here with us.
Thank you.
So I suppose I'm going to come to you first, Kate, before we get into talking about individual horses. But maybe just to start, you are a declared lover of mares. I mean, you say that the mares are the gold at the end of the rainbow, and you come across to me as being so passionate about the sport, and, you know, your love of attending the sport and attending the events and being part of the whole experience. How would you say, I suppose, your close association with the sport has influenced or guided your breeding philosophies? And, you know, just maybe in brief, before we get into talking about specific animals, in a general sense, how has that guided you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you have to always have a weather eye on your sport, because all great sports evolve through time and change, and eventing is no different. And I think the pivotal moment for me, two pivotal moments. One, I moved to Ireland in 1997, And two, the sport of eventing dropped the roads and tracks and the steeplechase phase. And when that happened, there was all of this poo-pooing about it won't be eventing and that. But I knew it would still be eventing, but I knew it would be a different kind of eventing. So those two things more or less coincided on my timeline of life with eventing. And I thought, well, here's a moment in time. Ireland is a fantastic place to breed horses and to live and to participate in the equine community. And my sport is at a time of profound change. Let's just see how we can move with the times and produce a horse for the sport of eventing as it's going to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I suppose that leads in a way, Austin, to you. You know, you yourself, you've witnessed so much change in the sport over the years. And, you know, I suppose what do you as a rider now, what do you see as being the most important attributes of a horse for the sport at that kind of upper echelons of the sport, the 4-star, 5-star, the championship level? What's, if you were to look at a couple of, you know, key things that are so important to you as a rider now?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals are the same. The horse still has to have a big heart and the right attitude, and wants to be a competitor. So to me, yes, the sport has changed, the sport has evolved, but the principles are the same. You still got to be sat on a winner, or a horse that wants to win.
Yeah, because you've seen so many transitions in the sport over the period as a rider. What have been the most, you know, pivotal moments for you in that time as a rider?
Yeah, as Kate said, obviously with the endurance elements we lost to an extent in the early 2000s. Standard of dressage has improved and changed and improved dramatically. And the show jumping elements, you know, we're now jumping proper show jumping tracks, technical, square, big, yeah. Whereas 20 years ago, there were still big tracks, but the technical element wasn't there.
Okay, just while I'm going to start doing a screen share here and getting that set up, I'll just ask you, you know, from all of your experiences as a breeder now, and I mean, you really have shown that it is possible to breed event horses. I mean, you really do that with you know, with fever over the years. You've done such a good job of it. What for you, if you were going out in the morning, you know, looking for a mare now, what for you what would she need to tick? What are the boxes that she would need to tick for you? And I'm just going to start doing a screen share here while you're talking.
Okay, quality, quality, quality. You know, the mare's got to be an athlete. She has to have a good temperament and good conformation. She's got to be conformationally correct. But the essential ingredient is the quality. And for me, quality on the whole goes back to thoroughbred.
Very good. So we have a presentation here this evening to talk through some of the mares and young stock that you've been involved with, and that Austin indeed has been involved with, and some that Shan is currently involved with as well. We're going to look first at Rock Me Baby, and maybe you talk to us, Kate, about her and how you came to have her and her qualities as you see them. And we can talk then with Austin because obviously you know the mare very well as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Austin had this mare, and she picked up a most unfortunate injury early in her eventing career. And he suggested to me that this was a very serious mare. From his riding of the mare and working with her, he knew that this was a quality, this was all quality, and that this was the type of mare to produce, to be a foundation mare. So he actually said, this will be the best brood mare you'll ever have. And I thought, wow, well, I don't know, I will have to think about that. But actually, he was right. She was conformationally correct. She had a great temperament. She was just a pleasure to deal with. She had great paces, even though she had an injury. You could see her paces were great. She's very athletic. She had that great ability of the elastic step behind in her hind leg. You know, the inside hind leg in canter came right up underneath her. So she ticked all those boxes for me. Quality, conformation, temperament, recommended by Austin as a real athlete as well.
And also a share of thoroughbred blood within her pedigree as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is the key to me. I don't want to breed horses that don't have some thoroughbred in them. It's the alpha and the omega for me, thoroughbred.
And Austin, you know, you rode this mare before she was injured. So what for you were her qualities?
I bought her as a 4-year-old, and to be honest, it didn't take an awful lot of intelligence on my side to realise that she was a good mare. Number one, she's 87% thoroughbred, which I'd be very keen on, and from any dam side to have closer to thoroughbred the better. I think historically and with good horses I've ridden, that's coming through more and more. She's by Rock King. Rock King is by Just a Monarch. And then you've actually got Busted on the dam side. You've got Shab, Busted. So you talk about pedigree, it's there. Plus she'd movement, plus she'd natural jumping ability and a great colour. So yeah, that, you know, to me, she was the real deal from day one.
And Kate, you proceeded to breed a number of very quality horses, and we'll come in a moment to talk about some of them. But you know, your choice of stallion, then, just in the sense of the kind of, you know, the principles behind the kind of stallions that you like and that you have chosen and used. What is your thinking there, or what was your thinking with this particular mare?
Well, I think this mare has proved her quality by producing good horses by so many different stallions, as you can see here. But I think from a stallion's point of view, again, I want proven performance, but I want some thoroughbred there as well. And I think that's really important. Also, Indoctro, one of the reasons I really like Indoctro as a stallion is that he bred good horses. He was a sire of sires, which I think is a really important thing for a stallion. In addition, he crossed discipline. So he sired horses at the top level of show jumping and eventing. I think those two things about a stallion are really important.
So the earlier product of this line, and my cursor is just up there, is Ballon Mist. And actually, I'm just going to stick our pictures down there to the left. The foal that's actually photographed with the mare here is actually Ballon Mist as a foal, you tell me. And yeah, so you know Ballon Mist as in you rode him also, did you, Austin?
Yeah, yeah, Ballon Mist is by Mill Law. Again, lovely blood quality horse. He's actually, it's quite interesting, five progeny have come up and 2 were shortlisted for the Olympics this year, Ballon Mist and Colorado Blue.
Yes, it's a phenomenal outcome from a mare, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one might go, none might go, but I'm sure, I haven't seen the statistics, but I'm sure that situation doesn't happen too often. So, you know, it would be great if they both went, especially from my point of view.
Absolutely, from your point of view, absolutely. So what do you see as being this horse's top qualities?
The Ballon Mist.
Yep.
Yeah, look, he's blood, he's quality, and he wants to do the job. You can pick holes in any horse, you can pick holes in, but going back to my earlier statements, he's willing and he's got heart. And he wants to do, you know, he wants to go cross country, he wants to do the job.
We'll talk in a little bit more detail about Colorado Blue just to give a little bit more time to him. But could you introduce this guy to us, Austin, as your take on Colorado Blue, please?
Yeah, obviously the same dam as Ballon Mist by Jaguar Male. Always been a very, very nice horse. Luckily, I've been lucky enough to keep the ride for the duration. Some we've sold. I've managed to hang on to him. Again, he's got he's got jump, he's got heart, and he's got blood, and he's always on side, which makes the job quite easy.
And if you compare him, I know we probably don't have time really to look at the video of Ballon Mist here this evening, but if you compare the two of them, when you see them as part siblings, how do they compare to you?
I've obviously kept the better one. If they stood up together, you wouldn't actually know that they were half brothers. The similarities are very much within, as in, again, heart, rideability, and competitors. It's hard to compare them because ultimately, ultimately they're both very, very good horses.
But I mean, this is the quality of what one is looking for the top echelons of the sport today.
Yeah, no doubt. He's but he's athletic. He moves well. He's got plenty jump. Obviously, his father, Jaguar Male, jumped in Beijing in 2008, and he also carried a lot of blood. So yeah, both sides of this lad's family. This guy is basically 86% blood as well, which I still believe you need.
Yes. And Kate, I mean, do you tend to change stallions with mares? Is it a deliberate ploy on your part to kind of mix it up with stallion choices, or do you tend with some mares to repeat stallion choices?
In the early years, there was a lot of experimentation, and I did swap and change. Now I have a much more formative idea of what I want to see. And I think Austin actually accompanied me on one of the trips to Europe where you can go to the stallion shows and see the stallions as young horses, 4-year-olds, jumping and performing. And that is a huge, for me, that's a huge insight. I get a lot of insight from seeing the stallions at that age.
And what are the key things that you're looking for at that stage then, Kate?
I'm looking for athleticism. They've got to be athletes in every pace. They've got to walk like athletes. They've got to have that beautiful uphill trot, not the dressage trot, but the uphill trot. And the canter has to be so balanced with the inside hind leg elastic and just coming into the middle of the horse every time. And temperament, and if possible, preferably a bit of thoroughbred, or one of the very finest of the old-fashioned continental lines, like the Corofino, Contender line, Cour de la Brière, those lines. Diamant de Simile, I liked a lot. I still like.
And Austin, for you, when you're we'll say, even when you're assessing some of the young horses that you might get a chance to look at before you ride them, like what's so critically important for you at that stage when you're looking at those young horses?
I think the feel, from my point of view, feel under saddle, the feel to give you over a fence, more so than technique, actually, from a rider's point of view. I think if you get that feel of them being athletic and careful, the technique generally follows through. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they just got to give you a good feel and feel athletic. And I think once we've got that, everything else follows.
Follows through. Kate, this is another one from the same line, Hush by Baby, and this one by Indoctro. And I must say, you know, a lovely looking animal. What can you tell us about her?
Yeah, I mean, she's very typical of the progeny of this dam, Rockby Baby. Austin broke and produced this horse, and he said to me, "Yeah, this is a keeper." You know, she, from the time she was loose lunged in the cross country, over the cross country fences, she locked on. You know, she was like, "Oh, where is the fence? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'd really like to jump that." Followed by the next one, followed by the next one. Her attitude to work is phenomenal. She's always in the bring it on mode. Sometimes a little bit too much in the dressage, but she's always in the, yeah, set me a challenge, bring it on. And she showed that at Lilian.
Maybe Austin, you could talk us through this little clip here in terms of what appeals to you about this particular animal.
Yeah, again, you can see she's full of blood. She's looking for the fence. You know, you're not kicking and scrubbing. She's carrying you. She's taking you there, and you can see that she's good and light off the floor. Yeah, she's, you know, again, one that you'd love to be sat on. She's not making hard work of it. That's one thing for sure.
And what struck you the most about her when you did break her at that point? What struck you the most about her?
She was a very good mover. She had, you know, she just had a little bit about her. She had a bit of sharpness. You just knew that she was going to be good and quick in her mind. Yeah, I think at the time I thought she was probably even better than the Colorado Blue.
Okay.
As a 4-year-old.
Okay.
As in, yeah, she was just, at the time with 2 4-year-olds, he was a bigger horse, and he took a bit longer, he took a bit of time and needed the time, whereas this mare sold herself to you from day one.
And what do you see in the future for her?
Look, there's no reason, like which is quite remarkable. Most of the family, there's no reason with a bit of luck that she wouldn't go all the way. And she's certainly going to be an exceptional, you know, brood mare. I mean, you'd love to have her as a brood mare. There's no doubt about it. But hopefully she gets a good competition career before that day comes.
And so this is another then from the same line, and this one is with you at the moment, is it, Austin?
Yeah, this one is with me. I mean, this is getting a little bit embarrassing because I think we're looking at a very unique. You know, I'm as quick to criticize one as praise a horse, and certainly criticize our own. It's just the same damn line, and its history just seems to be keep you know, it keeps repeating itself. This mare did her first event last week. She's more in the Colorado Blue mode, as in she probably wouldn't have topped the sale as a 4-year-old. But now I was lucky enough to be able to give her plenty of time. She had last year as a 5-year-old, just sort of tipping away, doing a bit. And now as a 6-year-old, you'd have always liked her as a young horse, but said she wouldn't have been a sales topper comparing to the previous mare. But the feel was always there, and you never questioned. You just had to give that real flash. You just had to wait a bit longer. But again, the same qualities, loads of scope, loads of jump, and wants to do the job.
And Kate, you know, you used Newmarket Venture, of course, who was standing here at home. And what made you choose him at that point, you know, having had the others previously?
Well, I have to say that in this case, I just a little bit let my heart rule my head, because there isn't a sufficient thoroughbred in him really for me. But he's Irish. He's been an important horse in Ireland and to Ireland. I think he has brought something to the table for eventing, in the eventing pedigrees overall. And I just thought with this mare, it's time to go back to real Irish, you know, and let's just see. And there she is.
And I suppose I'll ask you the same question with this one, Austin. You know, futuristically, what do you see?
Again, I'm in danger of repeating myself, but there's no reason why this mare won't go all the way. As I says, it's just a remarkable dam line, and we're seeing a full range of stallions. So it just, you know, I think it just goes back to it's all about the lady.
And I guess, you know, that you say that as well. I mean, I should mention also, I didn't put up the dam line. People can look it up themselves. You can go onto Horse Telex or Hippomundo or whatnot. But there is a lot of performance in this dam line, Kate. You know, there's a lot of performers at that kind of meter 40 plus level within the associated dam line. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's something that you consider. Would you consider that to have been an important factor also?
I think performance in the dam line is just wonderful. If you don't have it, it wouldn't exclude the mare for me if she ticked the other boxes sufficiently well. But even if you were buying a national hunt mare, I would still consider that in her national hunt career, she would have wanted to be a performer, and she would want to have retired from her racing career sound. Mm-hmm. Unless she picked up an injury, you know, an unfortunate injury. But essentially, they need to perform in whatever discipline they come into the breeding herd from, and they need to have finished that career sound, unless, as poor Rugby Baby, unfortunately picked up an injury.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of interest, that you mentioned soundness, do you tend to screen young horses? Do you do x-rays of young horses? Is that something that's part of your program? No. Because I mean, the soundness element, and you know, I mean, the sport is so demanding in that regard. You know, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, that's one of the biggest learning curves I had, Wendy, is that some stallions produce weaker strains and have genetic foibles. That although they've been super performers and they produce great looking horses, they have weak spots. And you know, not every horse I bred was a Colorado Blue.
Yes, I know. We have some highlights here tonight, you know, but I mean, you know, at the same time, I mean, you have produced a lot of highlights, and
you learn more by your mistakes.
Yeah.
So you wait 9 months, you plan this foal and you work out all the pedigrees, and you wait 9 months, 11 months, and you run down to the stable and you look over the door and you think, that's not actually what I had in mind. That happens.
There's a question in here, and that is the willingness and the heart that Austin, that you're talking about, is this a quality that can be bred?
Yes, I believe it can. Yeah, I believe it can. If you look for quality, go for quality. Mm-hmm. What differentiates quality from the everyday is heart and drive and stamina.
Absolutely. So we do have another mare to look at, and another mare who's produced quite a lot of really nice horses for you as well, Kate. Yeah. And this is Decision Day. So the mare is photographed here. I know we don't have a side view, but maybe you might just try and describe her to the audience here this evening in the sense of how you see her through your eyes, Kate.
Mm-hmm. So this is a lovely mare, and she was actually eventing when I bought her, and she evented up to intermediate very well, and she acquired an injury, and I immediately was in my back of my mind from the time I bought her was there was a breeding agenda on my mind, and because this pedigree I think is beautiful. This is a beautiful thoroughbred pedigree. It just screams quality.
Do you happen to know the gaps that are here that are?
We tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was enough there for you to attract you here.
You've got Rebo on the dam side. You've got La Fontaine on the side. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And she is a beautiful mare, very athletic, very nice person, highly strong in her own way, highly strong in her own way. And Austin could talk about the progeny as well from that perspective. So, but a lovely athletic mare, beautiful pedigree. Just, she was charming from the day one.
I suppose, Austin, the sport, like you say, and you kind of you alluded earlier that, that bit of sharpness, that bit of, respectability and that quickness and response, that's important for you. But, you need to be able to produce dressage from them now as well to quite a standard, and you need that rideability that's there as well too. How important is the character aspect in the assessment for you?
Oh yeah, of course. You've got to have a certain, well, you've got to have a lot of rideability and trainability, I guess, is probably the word. So yeah, I mean, you can produce them and train them and the best you can, but yeah, ultimately you want a sound brain.
So this lady has produced quite a few for you, and it'll be evident to people as well too, even in looking at the years of birth here, Kate, that you're no stranger either to embryo transfer. What have your experiences been of using embryo transfer? Has it been a positive experience for you, we'll say?
I think it's a very good tool in the overall toolbox for breeding horses. And I think there are definite criteria for using it. I used it in the early days, so day by day, oh happy day, because I wanted to accelerate the breeding program. Because I was just aware that I didn't have as much time as I wish I'd started 20 years before I did. I just wanted to accelerate. So I used it as an accelerator in the early days. I've used it for other reasons later on, when mares get old, or mares prove that they struggle to carry a foal. There's lots of reasons for using it. You want to be very clear and focused about why you use it, and what the purpose is behind going, because it does represent a cost. But I think in the overall toolkit of breeding sport horses, it's an important one.
And Austin, in this family here, I mean, how many of these have you had in the saddle? For most of them, some of them?
Yeah, no, I had the two mares at the top. Day by day represented Ireland at the Lyon d'Angers, and from memory, soon after she jumped around Lyon well. She had some good sort of 2-star form. And she went into the breeding program soon after that. Yeah, she was by Jumbo. She was a lovely mare again. She was a prize winner. But from Kate's point of view, it was quite important that she went in, which I totally supported. Looking to the future, she went into the breeding job, and but she did us well.
And you've been breeding from her, Kate. You've crossed her to Ringwood Casera and to Baffenstulz.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I have indeed, yeah.
And what is your feeling on those two progeny?
Yeah, her quality is coming through. Her quality is coming through in the progeny. The Grafenstol unfortunately had an injury as a foal, so was never able to come into work. But the other is a serious horse, and Austin has him. And
Austin, I mean, being that the two are both by Jumbo, both born the same year, did you see much difference between them?
No, to be fair, they were very similar. Again, very good, move very well, very good jumpers. Funnily enough, the probably they didn't have quite as much quality as some of the other decision day offspring, as Jumbo brought. Some of the ones later on would have just had a touch more blood, but it's a very competitive, good brains, good rideability. Again, great foundation mares again.
So this photograph up here, this is Oh Happy Day, and this animal here, I'll just play the video, and Austin, you might actually just talk to us about. You're familiar with this offspring, are you, Austin?
Yes, he's a 4-year-old this time.
Yes.
2017. This is Casanova Happy Days, who's by Ringwood Casero, who's photographed here.
Yeah, he's a lovely horse. We did a little bit with him over the winter. Quite a hardy boy, but again, moves, jumps, seems to have a very good attitude. Quite a big horse, so we've put him away. We're not chasing him as a 4-year-old. You know, look, we'll just give him plenty of time. But yeah, a good trot, good canter. Wants to jump the jumps, which is important from our point of view. Yeah, one certainly worth looking forward to. But I think I made a point with this guy. Let's not rush him as a 4-year-old. Give him time. Let him grow. Let him develop. But all the right attributes.
It's an important point, isn't it? That, you know, they're not all equal in that regard, and that you make different decisions about different horses at different stages as well.
Yeah, I suppose, look, to be fair to anybody, you know, we're in a privileged position that we can afford the time and we can wait, and especially when I'm working with Kate, you know, I can put my points forward, and we're not against the clock to get to a certain sale at the end of the year, or, you know, we let them find their feet, and yes, he will be sold, but he doesn't have to be sold immediately. So I'm just in a lucky position that I can produce him how I see fit, really.
And Kate, Casanova Happy Days, can you tell us a little bit in terms
he's
of?
Lovely. Yeah, he's a lovely big horse. As Austin said, he needs time because he's a big boy. I love that canter you're seeing there now, the elevation and the balance of that canter, and the power in the hind end. Okay, he's still a young horse, but you can see that there's tremendous power there. There's a real push off that hind end, and I think.
And your choice of sire here on this occasion, Kate.
Well, I own this horse. So I bought this horse in Germany as a 2-year-old, and he's jumping in Sweden now. And I love the Casal line. I think there's a huge amount of quality in him, in all the Casals. This horse, I know he's my stallion, but he is a beautiful looking horse. He's a beautiful mover. He's a performer. And he has great temperament and great attitude. He loves to jump, and he loves to lock on from fence to fence.
All qualities which are so important. I think we might just skip across BT Angelo, but to mention him, because we actually did cover this horse in a bit more detail in an earlier webinar with Camilla Spears last year. So, but just to acknowledge, I suppose, that he's one of the same line and one of the same breeding, and another very nice animal. I know this particular horse, and I might just pop back up here to the list of the horses that were produced by the mare. But Tennessee, actually, that's this foal that is photographed here with the mare. Would one of you like to tell us a little bit about him?
Gosh, he was.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a real model of a horse, actually. Tennessee. Yes, we competed him up to 2-star level, and he actually ended up going to America, as I say. The brief was to get the geldings sold at some point. Very nice, again, nice attitude, straightforward guy. I think he went on, and he was a good success for his job. He wasn't a world beater, but he was a great commercial horse.
And did you have High Noon, or you had Lord of the Morning, certainly, didn't you?
We had Lord of the Morning. Lord of the Morning. Yes, I had him, and he's actually competing in Ireland now successfully.
Yeah, he ran at the weekend at
Ballindennis.
Ballindennis. He ran at Ballindennis.
Yeah.
And you chose to repeat the cross with Sir Donner Hall again, but in 2015 then with Catch a Fire, Kate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was interested. This was an experiment, I have to say, to try the pure dressage horse with the performance mare. And they certainly produced really good looking horses that were a great ride. I'm not sure that they would have the jump, enough athletic jump to go through to the higher levels. But they were really nice, attractive horses, nice to deal with, very saleable, nice horses for good amateurs to go out and enjoy the sport.
Okay. And the crosses then that you did with Grafenstolz with 6 o'clock somewhere, and this 2015 animal that I don't have a name for.
He died. He died very early.
Okay. And what was your feeling about the Grafenstolz crosses?
I like
as individuals.
Yeah, I liked him as a stallion because again he crossed disciplines. He did he started in dressage and show jumping and eventing. So I liked the fact that he crossed disciplines, and he was a really good-looking horse. I think he had 1 or 2 weak spots, and I probably at this point in time I wouldn't use him again. But I think as a stallion to produce horses for the good amateur to enjoy, I think he's an important horse.
Okay, that's interesting. And I know, Austin, speaking to you previously, that this horse here, Climate Change, this is one that you like. So we'll just play the video and you might just talk to us.
This is a 4-year-old mare by a horse that we saw in Germany called Fire and Ice, which isn't particularly well known and hasn't become well known. And having had this filly, I've no idea why not, because she's done very little. This was her first outing literally a week ago. And I'd be very, very excited about her.
I have to admit, I wasn't familiar myself with Fire and Ice, Jay, so it was the first one that I had seen. So
I would have to credit Kate with that stallion choice. Well, it is Kate's stallion choice. I think this is the only one by Fire and Ice, but I think she's a proper one.
And Kate, what led you to this stallion, or how did he come across your radar?
Well, we went to the stallion show. Austin actually came. Austin and Amy came with us, and we saw this stallion, Fire and Ice, as a 4-year-old, and he had everything right. The most important thing he had right is when he came into the arena, his footfall was so light. You could hardly hear him come over the surface. You know, to me, it's really important that you never hear a horse thundering over the surface or pounding in front of a fence. He came in and he was so light. And his technique over a fence for a 4-year-old was wonderful. And he was a good-looking horse, and he was conformationally correct, and he had a lot of quality. He didn't look like a warm blood. He didn't look like a typical warm blood at all, to me.
And Austin, you know, obviously, I mean, you're familiar with the young horse production scene here, and you know, how, as a producer in England, how do you see the key differences between producing young horses in England and here, or do you see differences?
Look, I think it's all down to everyone's particular circumstances and situation. I certainly wouldn't, you know, there's an awful lot of good horses that are produced in Ireland, go through the Irish system, and it works. You know, I think it works equally as well, whatever side of the water you are. And, you know, you've got brilliant top-class producers in Ireland, and they make a very good industry of it. You know, and I'm sure they pick and choose. They, but like us, some, you know, like that filly you've just seen, you could crack on with her as a 4-year-old. Others, you've got to wait until they're 5 or 6, and I'm sure the guys in Ireland do the same thing. But yeah, I think it's the same both sides, really.
No, just interested if you saw any key differences. There's a question here for you, Kate. Do you find the cost, or the cost and the risk benefit, I suppose, of embryo transfer for breeding? Do you find it justifiable? I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's why you have to have a very clear purpose of why you're using embryo transplant. I'm using it because this mare is getting old and I want to double my progeny out of this mare, and this is the best way to do it. Or I'm using it because this mare is unable to carry a full term. Or this is the end of this pedigree. If I don't double this pedigree up by embryo transplant, I'm going to lose this pedigree. So you need a very clear reason why, and then that justifies the cost. My rule with embryo transplant is never try less than twice and never try more than 3 times.
Oh.
So if you go for embryo transplant and you fail the first time, don't give up. But if you get to the 3rd time and it's still a failure, think again.
But you really do have to, you know, be able to justify the resources to put into it as well, too. You know, from your
yeah. Be very selective about why you're using that tool in our overall breeding toolkit.
There's another question in here. Is it, may not be as easy to answer, is it more profitable to sell an unbroken 3-year-old or wait and sell as a 4-year-old broken and riding? I suppose, yeah, maybe not as easy for you to answer in that regard, because you don't really focus on selling 3-year-olds, do you, Kate?
No, I think that's a tough question, because as Austin has pointed out just prior, it's down to the individual horse. Some horses are very saleable as 3-year-olds, and some are not. So it's about maybe getting someone to come in and give you an opinion about saying, yeah, it's worth producing this horse as a 3-year-old, or no, you'd be better off to just put that away now and wait till 4.
Would you have a perspective on that, Austin?
Look, bottom line, it's a big industry in Ireland selling 3-year-olds, and I'm certainly not somebody that can knock that. From my point of view, riding and producing is my job. But from you know, again, it depends in people's situations and how much they're can afford to invest. But the bottom line, selling 3-year-olds is a big industry in its own right. So there it is.
And there's a question here in relation to the height of mares. Kate, is there an optimum height or a range of height that you like to breed top class eventers?
If I thought the mare was a super performer, height wouldn't bother me. So Headley Britannia was a very small mare, if you remember her. One of the most prolific winning mares in all of the eventing history to date. And I don't, if she was 15.3, that's all she was. So if the quality of the mare was outstanding, it wouldn't prevent me from breeding from her. But overall, as a criteria, I think 16.1 is the right height.
There's another question in here. If you're breeding from a thoroughbred mare with a sport horse sire, crossing with a sport horse sire for eventing, would you have a preference for a flat mare or a national hunt mare?
I think probably a national hunt mare, because you know she's shown more. You've got more of an idea from her performance record of who she is and what she is and whether she's retired sound from racing. Mm-hmm. She's probably, hopefully, had a slightly longer racing career. But that's a personal view of mine. I wouldn't set that in stone. If you have a great thoroughbred mare and she's from the flat world, you know, that's fine. That would be fine as well.
Absolutely. Now we might get a chance just to look at some of these now as well. So this is another from the same line as we've been speaking of. No, sorry, this is a different one. She's my master. Okay, so Master Imp, Olympic Looks, Clover Hill. Talk to us about this one, Kate.
Well, Austin found this mare and said this is an exciting mare with a fantastic pedigree. I think we need this in our arsenal. So indeed, she was brought in, and Austin competed her to a level, and then we decided together that her pedigree was so valuable, she would go on into the breeding.
So she's in your breeding program, and you have crossed her with. We'll look in a moment at Diamond Mistress, but you've crossed her with Dirad and you've crossed her with Sula Blue. Talk to us about those decisions, Kate.
Well, Sula Blue is all performance. He's an advanced event horse and beautiful pedigree. And Diorado is a warm blood horse that I really like. He has the Diamant de Simile line. He's a quality horse himself. And I saw him again as a 4-year-old stallion jumping. And I think he crosses, to my way of thinking, he crosses well with the thoroughbred quality performance mare. I think he's a lovely horse.
And what was your take going back to the mare herself, Austin? What did you view as being her primary qualities, we'll say?
I think the biggest quality was her page, and it was trying to keep the Master Imp. The Master Imp line in encouraging Kate to keep Master Imp line or get the Master Imp line into the breeding program, because as we all know, he's probably the most prolific Irish eventing stallion of all time. So that was the, again, that was my.
But as an individual, as an individual herself as well, I mean, she brought more characteristics to the table than just her sire, would say.
Yeah, she did, but first and foremost, it was her, the Master Imp on the sire's line, going back to Clover Hill on the dam line. And obviously,
sellers for you.
Sorry?
They were big selling points for you.
They were the big selling points. I never thought that she was herself necessarily a 5-star horse, but she had plenty movement, she had plenty jump, plenty scope. And to me, I just felt she was a very important part of the breeding side of things going forward.
Okay, this is one of, sorry now, I'm trying to move us, I moved the slide. This is her Diorado offspring. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Is a really beautiful looking mare, just an elegant and beautiful mare, a lovely mover, very straightforward in everything she's done so far. She's really just, she was a late foal, so really she's kind of 3.5 coming 4. She's a real baby, but she takes everything in her stride. She loves work, she loves people, she's very straightforward. She's a beautiful looking mare and an absolutely gorgeous mover.
So this one is with Shan, is she?
Yeah, well, the jury's out where she'll go. She's still very young and she's very big. So, time will be, she needs time.
What do you think for Austin?
I don't know why she had that fence down. I haven't actually seen it.
This is training, yeah.
Yeah. But no, Kate has told me a lot about her, that she's a nice mare, and I'm sure she is. She looks plenty nice enough here in a way, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's only 3.5 there, really.
Yeah.
That's
and Diorados are generally a pretty, he's a pretty successful sire as well, so it's a good combination.
Exactly, another one for the future anyway, for sure.
Let's hope.
So we'll have a little look at this one as well, Kate. Lady Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Can you tell us tell us about
Yes,
her.
well, my husband breeds National Hunt horses, and this mare, Rouge Etoile, was his. And I didn't steal her from him, but I just suggested to him in the strongest possible terms that she should go over to my side of the breeding program.
Yeah.
Gorgeous looking mare. She won a race and was placed a couple of times in her racing career. Lovely mover. Everything about her was correct. Stunning pedigree. Yeah, again, I saw the stallion Eurocommerce Tampa jump as a 4-year-old stallion in the Netherlands. Loved him. He went back to the nice C line. And I believe he goes back to the contender line. And I just thought, yeah, this would be a great cross. So I actually purloined this. Actually, this horse swapped from one side of the aisle to the other. She went from the National Hunt breeding of my husband's program, and she just tripped over to the other side, thankfully. And
are you familiar with this lady, Austin?
Yeah, I've seen a good bit of her. They've obviously, Sean and Kate have had a lot of fun with her, and she's been very successful, isn't she?
Yeah.
But it goes back to the same thing again, you know, the dam, full thoroughbred, lots of blood. Yeah, it goes back to sort of my original point that a good quality dam line is hard to beat.
And do you know what do you see ahead for this lady?
Well, so far she hasn't done a whole pile wrong, has she? You know,
she's all the way up. She's up to 4-star.
Yeah, she is
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Whether
she could certainly be. I mean, I'm obviously not involved in the plans with this mare, but she's done nothing wrong so far, and there's no reason why you won't see her at 5-star one day.
In with the questions that have come in since I last looked. So just flip down here. At what stage do you decide to geld a coach, and what's the deciding factors? Do you keep any of them? Have you kept any of them as stallions?
I would love to breed a stallion. I think it's the ultimate accolade for a breeder, but you have to be really critical. You have to be really hard about it, and I haven't bred any colt that I thought was actually good enough to continue as a sire. They're gelded as 2-year-olds. They're gelded as 2-year-olds.
I think this question, I suppose, in a way, has been answered by kind of, I suppose, the choices that you've made. But will warm blood stallions start to play a larger role in the breeding of eventers going forward?
The warm blood horse is here to stay, and he has a lot to bring to the table. But please don't ever forsake the thoroughbred. For eventing, I'm talking only about eventing now, you just want that dash, that blood, that courage, that drive. You really want that. If you lose it, you won't have an event horse.
And before we finish out, I mean, of the selection of stallions that you have used in more recent years, which do you rate as being the ones that you would like to continue to use if you are continuing to breed going forward?
Looking at the warm bloods, I would be saying, because that's what I do, I cross the warm blood with it. Indoctro, Diorado, Fire and Ice.
Okay. And Austin, I mean, you know, I must say and extend to you at this point in the evening, we wish you huge luck in your endeavours over the coming weeks ahead, and certainly, you know, we'll be giving you the old thumbs up in the background and hoping that it all stays on the right course. It's not an easy route to gain selection for an Olympic team. It's do you want to give us any little bit of an insight or comment on that at this point before we finish up?
No, yeah, look, there's plenty of us in with a shout of being selection, with a shout of being selected. We'll give it our best, and well, hopefully a horse stays in one piece and I stay in one piece, and yeah.
Most important, but wish you huge luck with it all. Unfortunately, we are reaching that point in the evening where the clock is actually beating us. It has been hugely interesting speaking to both of you, and I've appreciated the interaction from our audience this evening and sending in questions. Before we hit the end button on tonight, are there any parting, we'll say, piece of advice that you, Austin, as a rider, would offer to breeders that are breeding not only now, but they're breeding for the sport in 10 years' time, even in the decisions that they're making at the moment? What would be the parting piece of advice that you would offer to a breeder at this point?
Well, it's not really for me to advise breeders because they've been doing a very good job for a long time. All I would, from my point of view, don't lose sight of having enough blood, and certainly in the dam line, from my point of view, of plenty of blood.
No, that's very fair, and you're well within your rights to offer some advice, Austin. You're the one that has to get up and pilot them and bring them around those courses. So I mean, that's it at the end of the day. And Kate, for you, with all of the experiences that you've had with such a variety of mares, and over an extended period of breeding, what for you have been the key lessons, and what you would say to a breeder at this stage now, in the same like breeding for 10 years time? What would be your nugget to leave for people this evening?
Set yourself a mission statement, like I did, to breed an athletic, rideable horse to improve the sport. Set yourself some goals. Be passionate about those goals and stay committed to it. Don't be disappointed when something turns out as a mistake. You will learn more from your mistakes than you will learn more from your Colorado Blues. It's
nice to have the Colorado Blues in there amongst the mistakes as well.
Yeah. If you stay passionate about what you do, set yourself a mission statement, you will. And
I suppose, what has worked very well from my perspective looking in at you too is the close association that you've had with your riders as well, and how much, I mean, you say to me you speak to Austin most days.
Well, no, probably not most days, but certainly when the young horses when Austin tells me something about a young horse, I know he's shooting from the hip. So I say, all right, if that's the deal, that's the deal. And you
have to have open dialogue.
Yeah. You need someone who's honest and straight with you to say, yeah, this one needs this course for this one, this course for that one.
Well, listen, my thanks to both of you, and my thanks to our audience here this evening for staying with us. And just to mention to everybody at home that the next Let's Talk Equine will be on Tuesday, the 1st of June. And I will be joined on that occasion by William Micklem, and it will be a great opportunity for those of you who have shown an interest in the 3-year-old production, because we will be talking about producing 3-year-olds and some tips for those of you that are working with those horses at home yourselves. So my thanks to you both this evening for extending your time, your information, and sharing the benefit of your experience with people at home. And to everybody else, it is same time, same place, next month, and I look forward to meeting you all here. So for now, from Athenry in Galway, I'll say good night and thank you, and stay well and stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much, Kate and Austin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Night and thanks.